Okay, hi everyone. My name is Esther Uwanah Edet. I'm from Nigeria and I'm an editor for First Wave. I'll be hosting today's conversation and we are going to be talking about the great academic conversation. Everyone here has seen it. So I'm going to allow you guys introduce yourselves. And like Sangeeta introduced the other day, we're going to be taking it alphabetically so we'll be more organized. So I think that's Nima first, and then Moni, Sangeet, and Patsy.
Okay. I think it's Muniba,
Hi.
LMN, MN, and then Sangeeta, and then man, OP, then Patsy, then Sangeeta. So
Okay.
Mooney first.
Hello, my name is Muniba and I am principal editor of Fourth Wave. Thank you so much for having us.
I'm Nima Joseph. I'm one of the contributing writers for the Fourth Wave, and I'm excited to learn more about today's topic. Well, not excited, like a little horrified, but I want to learn more.
I'm Patsy Ferguson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Fourth Wave, and we are an international feminist magazine on Medium, where we have 66,000 followers now. So I hope you'll look for us there. We all publish there, and that's a platform where writers get paid. So we love to get paid. And I'm happy to be here and discuss this kind of horrifying, this definitely horrifying topic.
Hi, my name is Sangeeta. I am the development editor for Fourth Wave on Medium. And yeah, like everybody else, excited to do the live stream. Not so happy about the topic.
Yeah, thank you for introducing yourselves. So to start with, I'm sure like everyone here has seen, read about it online, maybe even watched a couple of videos. The Rape Academy conversation. I don't know if Nima, because I know Moni and Sangeeta wrote about it. And we spoke about it a little bit last week. So I'm sure everybody has heard about it at this point. So to start with, when you heard about it, what was your reaction? Like, were you surprised? Were you maybe not surprised? What was your first reaction when you first heard about this investigation?
Okay, so whenever I am trying not to stress about my safety or my daughter's safety, who is 7 month old, something comes up that makes me scared. Like it was my feeling when I saw Insta post about Rape Academy. And firstly, it was about that in this academy, this million men are uh, educating themselves in this academy. And later when I researched, they said, oh, all of them are lying. There are not that much amount of men who are learning or educating themselves. It is small amount. Women always like they always make small thing big and whatever. People say something like this, but if they are only 10 people, it is bad thing. Please say bad to something which is bad. It is bad. Don't make the crime smaller, saying things like this. If it is something, it is bad. There never should be anything called Rape Academy at first place. This is something. So my feeling was that how can I protect my daughter? She's only 7 months and I am afraid for her. There are men who are like teaching other men that how to rape their wives, how to rape their girlfriends, and this is wrong. So yes, this was my feeling. I'm scared.
It reminded me of like that case from France where like the woman's husband, yeah, it just like was really horrifying. I saw like I first heard about it last week's live stream, and then I read an article about it, and I was just like, wow, like even your own spouse or like your own significant other who you trust can just like see you like that and treat you like that. And like it's just scary. Scary world.
Yes, I was reminded the first time I ever heard of an incel, and I was like, oh, this is a horrible group of people, and they must be, very strange and very outlandish, not at all like regular people. And it has just grown and grown and grown. This group of men who believe women owe them sex, owe them relationships, no matter how they're treated, and should be, I don't know, who just actually hate women. So it's weird that they even want to interact with them. Why don't they just get a sex doll if they hate women so much? I mean, honestly, if they need to have sex but they hate women, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't. But it's terrifying that it has grown so much and become such a big topic. And what crossed my mind was, well, I'm kind of bad at math, and it said 62 million visits, and
Visit.
I would wonder how many men that is and what percentage of men that is, because, the men I know are all sweet and nice and good men. And so where are these horrible men? Are they, you know, I don't know. I want to believe that they are a minority, and yet we hear so much about them. And it might be just that they're such loudmouths and they take over and, promote their point of view. And also having a president like Trump, who's an obvious sexist, and raped his wife, Ivana, who mentioned that in their divorce, um, I think encourages other people to follow. That's what I thought.
I think when I first heard about it, it's the same as everything, like Muniba said. You're kind of scared, but also I was shocked, not surprised. It's it's like something that Russell Brand said in a recent interview. He said something like, "Oh, I did this terrible thing to a 16-year-old when I was 30, and it was awful but lawful." And to a huge extent, for example, the motherless.com site, which is the one with the views that people are talking about, the 62 million, and then it was 83 million in March when we started to really see CNN's report, right? That's when it came out. Um, those views, like you said, are views. We don't really know the exact percentage, but the academy that everybody's talking about, which is the Telegram group, the ZZZ group, I don't really know. I think that's just supposed to be for sleeping, right? That had about 1,000 active members. So it doesn't really take into account how many left and came back and whether, there was turnover basically or not. So I think a lot of men have gotten up and told women who've written about it. I'm sure at some point Muniba might have seen it on her article. I'm surprised I haven't seen it on mine, but I'm seeing it in other places. Men saying, well, actually, it was just 1,000. But like she said, Muniba said, even 10 is too many. And it's the same thing. It's anger at this happening. Sadness because I've been there before, and almost a kind of, not just a shock because it's out in the open or something of that sort, but feeling like a weird sense of, at least I'm not alone. And I feel so bad saying it, and you feel guilty as a woman saying something like that, that I didn't make it up. It's not in my head. Like this is something men do and then gaslight you about. And for example, I had found that there was what's it called? a, a study in the UK of 22,000 women, where more than half of them, 51% of them, said that this happened to them, that they were raped in their sleep by a partner. And interpartner violence is some of the largest killers for women. So we, in a lot of ways, we know this. We've known this before CNN did an expose on it. And so it's a mix, I guess. It's everything. It's feeling like you're crazy, but then realizing you're not crazy. This is terrible and it's happening. And feeling helpless because what do we do now?
Okay, personally, I would not say I was surprised. I don't know if I was shocked. I was just shocked at the number because I saw 62 million men. And I was like, that's a lot of men. That's a whole lot of men. So I was shocked at the number, but I was not surprised that this was going on. Because I can remember during the Giselle Petticoat's case, she said she had found out about this because of this group he was in. I think it's called Without a Knowledge or something like that, where like it's a group where men are in and something similar to this rape academy, but during Giselle's court case that she found out about this group. And that was where her husband was finding these men within their environment who were coming to do this to his wife. So I was not shocked because we had seen this already during Giselle's case. I was only shocked at the number because that seems like a lot of people. And also, I was thinking, okay, maybe they're just going to these spaces to learn how to get away with raping women. I was more shocked to find out that it's mainly men find out how to drug their wives and rape them. That is what I was shocked about. That's what I was most shocked about. How like it's not like they're doing this to random women. There's not like you have to be scared of like random men coming from like in a dark street to come and rape you because they're laying about it online. It's literally the person you're laying with at night. That was what I was most shocked about. And yeah, like finding that out, and I feel like our society is very like they're very reluctant to accept that most of the dangers that most of the women still have to be very scared of, like in the home. Women still have to be very, very scared in the home. Yeah. So that brings us to, I guess, the next question. Like, what is like? Why do you think our culture is still very resistant to accept that most of the danger? I don't know if I should say most, but a lot of the danger women experience or would face is domestic, because we like to talk about women's safety and danger like it's strange men in the dark, like it's strangers. But time and time again, it has been proven that it's usually like people who are around women. Like even with children, with pedophiles, it's always usually like a father, it's always like an uncle, a family friend. It's always somebody that women know. But it still feels like society is very resistant to accept that that is the case. They're still treating women's safety like women are getting raped the most and killed by random strange men. So why do you think society is still very resistant to accept that?
Oh, I don't know. In my society, it is like recently I saw a post on Facebook. It was about rape, uh, marital rape. It was about, and when I read every comment, They were like, why she married? Why she why she married at first place? Or if they can't understand the meaning of marital rape and this and that. Our society don't, like, I think. Recently, I think I mentioned it to Patsy that my uncle came to my house, and uh, like in our society, the word feminism is like something very big, like it's something like bad word. So when I told him, he asked me, what are you doing, this and that, and when I told him that I am uh, like I'm editor in feminist magazine and this and that, and he was like, oh, feminism, so what do you think about rape? Like I said, I this and that, and like he was some kind of shaming me, like he want to make me awkward, like how can I talk about this topic if I can't talk to him. And I was very clear about everything, and he was like, then what about virginity? And I said this and that, and what about virginity testing? And when I said virginity testing is nothing but bullshit, and he was like, so why rape is something when virginity is nothing? Like, I was like, what are you saying? So our society is like, I don't know, I have no faith if someone is going to understand things like this. I think my generation will, but not generation who is like my uncle or something like this. So I think society is sometime, my society is like sick, hell, something like this. I hope I can make sense of this, but yes.
I think a lot of it is like when you think of the home, like they want you to think of safety, or like that's where like a woman should be. And that, like you're like, you should be in the home. And it's easy to portray the outside as the villain, or like the bad guys are gonna hurt you because they don't know you, but like your husband is gonna protect you. When the reality is like chances are your husband's like more likely to hurt you than that strange man down the street. So like it's just like a form of mind control, I feel like. It's just to keep you scared. Yeah.
I feel like I think men and women both have a misunderstanding about what rape is, and our consciousness is changing, and it has changed in my lifetime. I'm 71, and when I was a child, there were a lot of movies, and perhaps there still are, where the man pursuing the woman, even when she was saying no and running away, was seen as romantic, and her getting overpowered by him was seen as sexy and romantic. That's how it was portrayed in the movies. And and I remember also I had a student, this would be about 20 years ago because I have been retired a long time, who told me he would love to be raped by a woman. And no, he would love to be raped. He'd love to be followed down the alley and jumped on and raped. And the thing is, men think of rape as just sex. But guess what? It's not that. If you are a woman, uh, when you're having sex, you're being penetrated, your body is being penetrated. Okay. Now, a man imagining penetrating someone is not equivalent. It's not equivalent. He needs to imagine being penetrated. So I said to this boy, well, how would you like it if it was a man following you? A man who was bigger and stronger and who was going to penetrate you even if you didn't want him to, even if you said no. And I don't know if he took the lesson, but I think men, when they talk about rape, they need to think about having something put into their body against their will. not putting their member into someone else. That's not rape, someone else climbing on top of you. It's different because of our anatomies. So anyway, there's that. And it's not romantic. And I've written about before, I was actually raped and didn't know I was raped when I was young because we didn't think that your date could rape you, or it wasn't even a word in our language. So I think it takes time. I think our consciousness is changing, but I honestly think we need men to understand. I think women are the first to understand because we're the most affected, but men need to understand what rape is and understand that how it might feel to be raped.
I will actually go back to the CNN article, the kind of expose on this, and a lot of the men who were quoted in it were extremely aware of exactly what they were doing, how bad what they were doing was, saying things like, "Can't wait to do this to my missus, but I just don't want to kill her." So the drawing of the line is, I just don't want her to die, so what's the dose I give her? And I want to record it and I want to get paid for it, and you guys can stream it and send me money. I fully believe the reason why we're trying to bury this under facts, men at least are trying to bury this under, well, it was just 1,000 men on that one telegram, The 62 million visits is a different website. The reason why this is happening is because marital rape has always existed. There has always been a power differential between men and women when it comes to a marriage. And I know I'm saying that as a woman who's recently gotten married. There's always been a power differential. If we allow women to understand how scary men can be, whether they are related to you or not, what they are capable of doing to you in your own home, in your own bed. If you are very privy of that at this day and age, when we can have jobs too, and we can take care of ourselves, we will choose not to be married, which is already happening. If we're honest, it's already happening in most of the world. I feel like we will just see more of that, or we're going to see there be a strange kind of fringe society where, yes, maybe there are some people who do get married, but either they marry someone that, they think is an exception, and there's a lot of exceptionalism when it comes to things like marriage. People love to say, well, my husband would never. And I feel like the reason why we're not willing to accept it is also that we desperately need us to be the exception, because if we're not the exception, it's crazy. How do you sleep at night? You don't sleep, you'll die. Like you can not eat for a week and be fine. You don't sleep for a few days and you're gonna be in the hospital. So it's like you're not even safe if you don't marry. You're not safe regardless, right? So our entire lives as women is a gamble. But the more we know this and understand it and start to develop our own communities and say, you know what, we need to find a way to build fortresses that are female only, then we create a literal war. Because at the end of the day, like Patsy said, why don't these people just get sex dolls? Well, a sex doll isn't going to wake up in the morning and make you breakfast tomorrow. And then you can't be smug about the fact that I did that to you. You didn't even know, and you're standing there yelling at me because I got the wrong kind of eggs, right? It's the knowledge, this inner knowing that I pulled a fast one on you. It's not just about rape as it is, because if it was just a sexual thing, a lot of people are very closed off about talking about intimacy and sex in group settings, because some things that, that you get off to, you might feel a little shy about talking about. But with these men, they're not shy about it because it's kind of a online high five to each other. Like, yeah, you did that, I did that, and she has no idea. It's in fact, I would say society is kind of built like that, isn't it? It's always, oh, women don't really know what they're signing up for when they get married, when they get a job somewhere. They don't know whether they're discriminated against or not. Every section of society that we enter, we don't know what's going to happen to us next. And I think that's the reason we're not accepting that this can happen in your own home. It's not that we aren't. Women know, but it just doesn't sell marriage. It doesn't sell domesticity to women.
Yeah. And also, like you said, and also Nima was saying that they have to sell the home. Like a woman has to be in the home. So if they start really focus on the fact that a lot of women are actually not safe in the home, more women would not want to be in the home. And also looking at the numbers and everything, I was reading about this and I was really confused, honestly. I still am very confused about the numbers. Is like this like 62 million, I think, visits, and then there was the group they focused on that only had like 1,000 members. And I was looking at the number. I'm very confused about the research regarding it. So people are saying that they did not really like do an in-depth research regarding it. But either way, I feel like the conversation of rape has been coming up a lot lately, and it's like there are a lot more cases, and I don't know if it's happening more or if it's just taken seriously more. So I would like to know what you guys think. Like, is it a thing of awareness, or has this been happening and it's just not been publicized like that? Because even in my country, I know that there are groups where they share nudes of women, like also on Telegram. I don't know what it is with that app, honestly. Also on Telegram, like most of these things that get discovered, they discover it on Telegram, and I don't know why they have not done anything about that yet. Even the previous, I think it was maybe 70,000 men in a group that were sharing pictures of their wives. It was also on Telegram. So I know in my country there's also like a group where, and I don't know if anything has been done about it, but there are groups, not only a group, there are groups where men share intimate pictures that women send to them, maybe their girlfriends and stuff like that. So do you think this has been happening and we are just not hearing about it, or like it's just happening now? And what do you think? Like, if you think it's just happening now, like it's happening more now, what do you think could be the curse? Like, why are men raping women so much more now? I don't know how to put the question. But why is it happening so much more now? Or has it been happening and we have just not been hearing about it?
No, I don't think it's just happening now more. It was always there, but no one was educated enough about this. What they are doing to us is wrong. Like Patsy said, she didn't know that she was being raped in her date, and there was no concept in my society. There was no concept about marital rape. Like, if he is your husband, he can do anything to you. So now when women educate themselves, education is key. Like, when you educate yourself, you know what is good for you and what is bad for you. And other thing is, now women are more educated and women are more they know how to earn money for themselves. When they know how to earn money and make secure environment, they don't need men as much like before. In like my mother or my grandmother or our mother, they were stuck with a man. Like, recently I saw one TikToker message. She shared something and it was like, women don't have husband or father, they have honor, different honors. First, their father is owner of her, then her husband is owner of her. So think like this. When like first you have to ask everything from your father or brother, and if you don't do good thing, honor killing, it is like something very big, scary thing going now. Like recently I saw one woman who, it is off topic, but like women are stuck with men, and I think education is key. Now we are learning more. Now we know what is going with us, what is going to our body and everything. So I think this is main reason. Not, it is not new.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think any of this is like necessarily new, but it's just everyone sharing it more, or like social media is making us more aware. Like personally, even in high school, like everyone, like my junior year, a bunch of girls had their nudes leaked. And it was a whole thing because the cops had to be involved because we were all like minors. And like it was just some random dude. Like his friends would send him the pictures and then he had them. And I don't know what happened, but all the pictures ended up on Snapchat and a lot of people got in trouble. But these are just things that men do to like show off, I think. And and we pay the consequence because it's like your body that was shown off, not anything to do with him. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that it's been happening, but with technology, there's that opportunity to share. And unfortunately, I think that brings new people to do it because they say, oh, if he's doing it, I can do it. And oh, it's okay because I saw it online or whatever. And Uwana mentioned that application Telegram. And I want to say I read an article about in the US, there's this law that lets the platforms not be liable for what's posted on them. It says they're not responsible. And I think that needs to change. That absolutely needs to change because newspapers are responsible, newspapers, magazines are responsible. And to say, oh, no, this isn't like a newspaper or a magazine, it's more like a bulletin board, well, I don't know. It's just that's got to be a step in this because if they can use AI to do so many amazing things, to take all our jobs and to, become secretaries or whatever, doctors, everything, they can certainly figure out how to get this content off. And they need to do that. And so that's something it came up. I forget the question. Oh yeah, I don't think it's happened. Well, I do think it might be happening a little more because of as the news spreads that this is something you can do, then someone says, oh, I'm going to do that too. And it's okay because all these other people are doing it. So it's normal or acceptable. So I do think maybe. I don't know.
I feel like Nima said or Muniba said, all of you have said it, but um, not only is this kind of normalized across many generations, it's like technology, yes, has a role in how far you can spread this. But even during the time when my father was young, he would tell us about they had their own version of locker room talk at the workplace where men were still doing this sort of thing. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend my dad was one of the good ones because he would just not do anything about it. He would just walk away. And you still become complicit when you walk away just because you don't talk about it or do something with that information doesn't mean that you're one of the good ones. We have to start holding men more accountable than that. But something that you mentioned, Patsy, the law, if I'm not mistaken, is actually for liability. I think it's Section 230 of the something to do with intellectual property, which essentially it says that you don't have liability, meaning you can't be sued as the platform if a consumer or a client decides to upload something inflammatory, like a video of rape. So you don't get sued for that. But there are some caveats to it. For example, child pornography is just illegal across the board. So child pornography will still put the what's it called, the platform at risk. So that's more of like a risk assessment for legal liability, which is also funny because I feel like children are a protected class on the surface, but you still have something like the Epstein files, which it's just we know about it now, but it's been happening probably the 80s, probably the 90s. It was like in its prime then when I wasn't even born. So these things have been around. We're starting to see more exposés and we're starting to question laws because even the thing with child pornography, this is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, with the American law, this is still new. I don't think it was always illegal. Like there, you had to set precedent in order to make something legal. You had to have people fight it out in court, and then then you can make legislation after the fact. Which is very similar to what we have in places like India, in places like Italy. Like this is what happens. You have to argue it, and if you can set precedent, then we look into turning it into legislation. And there's other ways of passing a bill, but this one is when it comes to cases, this is what happens. I feel like when I was younger, though, I've there was still the whole locker room talk sort of thing, but there was shame. When I was reading the article from CNN, I felt like these men were shameless. There's a paper trail, because when there's locker room talk, it's verbal. Verbal, unless it's a contract, is non-binding, right? Like, so you don't really get into trouble because who's going to know? Even like a lot of Trump's words were recorded by certain journalists, and that's how we know he committed crimes against women. The whole grab him by the pussy thing. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say pussy, but there you go. That's because someone caught him on tape. But now it's almost the shamelessness is what really gets to me because there's a paper trail. You are completely in liability as an individual because you're not the platform, right? Okay, we can't sue Telegram or we can't sue motherless.com. You can be sued, you can go to court, there is evidence against you, but you're still doing it. That is, I'm not even gonna give the benefit of doubt and say, oh, these men are trying to do this pissing contest and they don't really know what their legal risk is. I feel like they don't care. I think it's become very well known, especially when feminists talk about it, that there's not a lot that happens when you report rape. Most women don't even report it because you know how difficult it is to get any kind of justice, right? I feel like men know this, and now it's almost like why should I be scared? Someone's going to come along and say, well, I have a bright future ahead of me, and she was my wife anyway. So to me, it's the egregiousness, like the singular feeling of I don't care that I'm leaving a paper trail. I don't care that something could happen to me. I'm doing the thing, and we're doing it together, and we're all doing this to our wives, and they're not even silent about it because why was it this easy for CNN to find this out? I feel like so much stuff happens and nobody ever gets to know. So I don't know.
Yeah. There's like, Oh,
Okay.
sorry. I was gonna be like, it's because all the men in power, especially the ones on the Epstein files, like people get away with stuff so easily now.
Yes.
Yeah. I also don't think it's new. But at the same time, I feel like the scale at which it's happening, like Sangita said, there's a shamelessness to it now. I think it's not new, but at the same time, it's like it's happening at a larger scale now because they know that there is no consequences. Like if you see the conversations these men were having in this group chat, saying they were charging $20 for the streams. Or I don't know if it was just one that was charging $20 for you to be able to watch him rape his wife. And he was complaining that he only had 3 viewers last night and he's going to try to like up the views. But I think they know there are no consequences. Like there's almost like the conviction rate for rape is really, really low. So they know that even if they do get caught, like the possibility of them getting away with it is very high. So they do it with much more shamelessness. So that brings us to the question of why do you think harmful activities against women has been normalized for so long? And at this point, it's almost like there's no way to address it. It's like there's not like nothing is going to change. Like I do not see how any of this is going to change. I don't see how women will be able to like feel completely safe in the world. So why do you think harmful activities have been normalized against women like for so long, for decades? Like this is not new. So why is it still happening?
I don't like, I wish it never happens to anyone. I wish, and I can only wish on something. And I think society is doing big job that it is still happening. Like there is no, like no one say, like again I'm saying, like it is very out of topic, but women who was killed recently in Pakistan by our uncle and brother and father. She was shot on her chest, and she was like begging everyone, and video went viral. And she was begging that I didn't did anything wrong. I married someone. I married him, and our husband, whoever, like he was husband or lover or anyone, is safe, is somewhere safe and everything. And she is someone who was killed or murdered by everyone, and no one, no, like I know after 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, our lover will marry someone else and everything. No one say anything to men. I remember my grandmother, she said that girls are like white cloths. Everything will, every dirt will look like, will like appear very big on white cloth, and man is like black cloth, nothing will, like something like this. And it was like very bad thing to say that, like nothing will, is going to happen to boy or man. Everyone will shame women. So this is what society is doing. That's why everything is happening. No one is saying anything to men. Men are going to be men or something like this. So I think this is main reason.
Yeah. It's just like it feels like it's a cycle. Like our ancestors had to go through it like so much worse. Because back then, like marital rape was just like, well, that's your husband. At least now we have the term for it. It's just like it's an ongoing fight, it feels like. And it's like there are times when you just sit and you're like, is this ever going to feel equal? And it's really sad.
It is sad, and I want to say that just on the positive side, that for example, in the French case, a lot of men went to jail, 50 men. And they were out there saying, oh, I didn't rape her. I thought it was a sex game. I thought she was pretending, and their wives were there and their mothers were there saying, he's not a rapist. But they went to jail. And Prince Andrew, didn't he go to jail? I haven't been really following that. But I mean, somewhere consequences are happening. And the women in the 4B movement who are saying, no, I'm never getting married. I'm not having children. I'm not dating. I'm not having sex. Uh, that's a consequence. I feel like, it's slow and it's sad that it's so slow, but it does feel like it's shifting to me. Um, so like when I watch an old movie, I go, oh, that doesn't work anymore. You can see things that they're portraying that at the time were accepted and now are bad, and you wouldn't put it in a modern movie. So I do feel like our consciousness is growing, but it's going very slowly. And I do want to say I had a kind of a bad experience just the other day where someone was arrested outside my apartment window, and probably he was jiggling some doorknobs and car doors, trying to get in, see if there was something he could steal. But it was one black man, and it was like 9 white officers, police, 5 cars. Somebody in the neighborhood must have called because they said, oh, we got a call. And there was this one black man, this one Latino man. And I was upstairs. I could see down there what was happening. And I felt like I should intervene. I should ask, what's going on? Why so many police? You know, but I was afraid to. And I was afraid it would make them mad. I was afraid it wouldn't necessarily have a good make anything better. And I decided, well, at least me just watching them, they're aware I'm watching them, maybe has an impact. Because I don't know what to say. I mean, I like to believe I would stand. So I want men to stand up and shame other men and say, don't be a rapist, you scumbag, whatever. But then when I'm put in that situation where am I going to stand up? I don't necessarily. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So I'm just trying to say, I think there are a lot of good men, and I think they will stand up in some circumstances. But if a good man got into that group and said, "You guys are all scumbags," would that change anything? Would they stop? Or would they dock? Would they somehow harass him online, ruin his life? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to figure out how to make change happen. Um, why it's been happening. I kind of feel like the biggest assholes become the leaders because nice people don't want to fight. And so if someone's there saying we're going to rape all the women, whatever, and I don't know what to say. I just feel like it's a personality problem too, because the nice people are meeker. And, so how are they going to change the behavior of the mean people? I don't know. It's a conundrum, but I do feel like things are changing, and I have met a lot of wonderful men recently in a surprising way. And it just reminds me, not everybody's like that. So anyway, those are the thoughts going through my head.
This reminds me of a kind of story that we have. It's not really a legend, but it's kind of a legend now. About Acqua Tofana. So in Italy, so we in the south, there was a woman called Giulia Tofana who used to help women in bad marriages get out of them by poisoning the husband. And it was untraceable, almost poison. And she helped lots of women out that way. And it's always been a legend, and it to some extent, it has been something that a lot of people have used as an example of why you should not, mess with your wife or do bad things to your wife, right?
Oh.
But interestingly, the sentencing that I have seen for women who do kill their rapist during attack, who do self-defense and kill a man, their sentences are worse than men who actually commit the original crime. Rape sentences are significantly shorter than manslaughter, even if it is what's it called? Kind of self-defense. And I feel like that's by design to a huge extent. I don't believe that these are coincidental things. Even with Prince Andrew, for example, that was an interesting thing that you brought up, Patsy, because I know for a fact that no one from the Epstein files in America has actually been tried, or if they have tried, there's no convictions. But Prince Andrew was a known pedophile. I'm sorry, again, I don't want to flag the video by saying this, but he was known and protected by his royal family for a long time. It's just now, that the UK is like, we can't take more bad publicity for the royal family, so let's just get rid of this guy. He's not really doing anything. He's not, lots of people will have to die for this guy to ever have any power. Who gives a shit? And besides, the Queen's gone, and Charles can't afford the bad PR anymore. So to a huge extent, I want to be hopeful, just like Patsy. And I guess I am. But what we need to change at this point is the consequences have to be real, and not for the women who are retaliating to bad treatment. They have to be for the perpetrator of said treatment. Like in the last one that I had hosted, I think my first one, I remember mentioning that in Spain, when they created a law which was no means no, that about consent, like rape is about consent, sentencing was changed in accordance to the law directly. And a lot of already convicted felons, people who had already committed rape, were appealing based on the new law and getting reduced sentences. Some just getting out of jail just like that. One of them who raped his 13-year-old daughter. He was like part of the big story in The Guardian. Sorry, like a lot of my news sources tend to be close to home. And I also read of this in La Repubblica. So why am I mentioning this? I feel like I see this trend of us just speaking about it has much more consequences than men actually doing it. And I loved or hated, I guess, Muniba's example that she said, because it's so true, right? Like, at least in Indian culture, Pakistani culture, South Asian culture, the woman is like a blank slate, and it's very easy to chip away at her life, at her, her psyche, who she is can be washed away, made unclean simply by being touched. Whereas a man can do awful things, and no one villainizes men nearly as much as they deserve. In fact, we're still in a place. I don't do it anymore. But when I was in the heat of it writing my feminist articles, I would mention some men and a few men and not all men, many men. I would be giving actual statistical evidence, and I would still have someone in my comment section telling me, you're the reason bad things are happening. You talking about it is the reason why men feel the need to do this. And it's just, a lot of these women didn't know what was happening to them. Why were they subjected to this? A lot of women who this has happened to in the past, some women wake up to being raped by a partner. And I had gotten the excuse of sexomnia, which I thought sounded like some nonsense 80s movie, B-grade film thing. But, oh, sometimes you don't really know what you're doing when you're asleep. No, you know what you're doing. I refuse, at this point, there's no excuse. There's no point in pretending men don't know that they're doing this to us. I feel like they like to do the fact that they can do this and get away with it. The ones who are doing it. Again, I know I have to put a caveat, but yes, I fully believe, because if you didn't show me the texts on the CNN um, expose, and you didn't show me the interviews with the wives who came out and said, "Oh yeah, so this my husband was in this thing, and now I know, and we have kids. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know who to be. I don't know if I can ever sleep in my bed again." Reading the way that the men were talking about it in those groups, I do not believe these are people who can be rehabilitated. I don't believe these are people who should be in society. And I don't believe there should be a short sentence for rape in any capacity. I just don't. And again, people love to say the whole aqua tofana thing is this, this is awful. Like, why would you kill them? We can teach them to be better men. But I feel like we're doing so much. Even women who do 4B probably could be raped. Women, like this, even with Nigeria, Uwanah wrote a really good article about it. Damilola wrote a really good article about it. And it's like everything that's happening everywhere in the world, there is nothing we can do as women other than say, stop. Just this is insane. Stop it. But then if we are in power and we can actually find a way to get real consequences, I feel like we will go somewhere in society. And if we stopped giving people the benefit of doubt, because we're so indoctrinated as women to say, maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe he doesn't know what he's saying. I did that for a long time. And after a point, you just wake up and go, this is happening to everyone. And if I don't say something about it, it's going to happen to the next woman and the woman after that. Maybe it'll happen to a child, where there is a certain level of personal accountability, I will say, sure. But beyond that, we have an entire system in place. We have laws, we have courts. Why are we being harsher to women who are committing acts of crime in self-defense? Why are we harsher to them than to the man who actually did the crime? Why honor killing only for woman, not for man? And I'm not saying kill the men. Don't honor kill. You don't need to do it. This is a huge thing in my country,
Can
in
I
India.
ask you something, Sangeeta? One time at a recent live stream, you mentioned a group of women in Italy who bring consequences to rapists, and I was like, what did they do? And
No, that's India. That's India.
oh, and what did they do?
So they're called the Gulab Gang, And so their entire thing is they wear clothes this color, this it's called Rani pink in my country. And they wear these dresses to, like, they're vigilantes basically, and they go into villages where a man has committed a crime. Uh, and they basically beat the shit out of the guy. And you will get buried in paperwork in my country if you try to report, what's it called? Like vigilante justice, or what's it called? There is, I don't know, there is a certain legal restriction to if a mob is trying to exact revenge on someone's behalf. I'll have to look this up and I will send this to you. But if a mob is trying to get mob justice, like, you can't just put 100 people in jail. That's the premise. So a lot of these women, they work out, and a lot of them are old as well, actually. There's lots of old women in Gulab Gang. And I think there is an equivalent for Aurat March in Pakistan as well, if I'm not mistaken. But Muniba can mention. I think there is something, or at least there's a lot of feminist groups in Pakistan as well. Maybe not the same.
Yeah, not the same, like not Gulab Gang, but there is something else like Gulab Gang. It is called CDA or something like this. When they find out about someone like this, or they like evidence about this, they just shot him in there.
Yeah.
Wow, I want everyone to know more about these. This is very interesting. So
Yeah.
Gulab Gang in India, and what are they called in Pakistan?
It's CDA, I think.
Idiot.
I want to research more about this, but if someone says this is like some kind of Eden Batman or someone,
Oh.
they're doing
Cool.
great job.
I like it. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically women taking their own lives in their own hands. Basically, that's what they call it. But this is loosely translated from Hindi. But yeah, I think that's what we need, consequences. We don't have enough consequences. I think the men are too free, for a lack of a better way of putting it. They feel too liberated to do this to us.
Fantastic.
And we need them to stop. Just
And on the conversation of men holding men accountable, I'm very much against I think it's all men. But obviously it's not all men. But I do not like to hear that it's not all men, because in my experience, it's like it's all men. Not like every man I know is bad, but they do not hold each other accountable. I can remember when I was in the university, if one of my friends, my closest friend, went to this restaurant to eat, and we saw this man who looked like he was in his 30s with a girl that looked like she was like 15 years old. And it's like they were on a kind of date. So just for fun, me and my friend decided to go and sit with them, because it was like a kind of like a booth. That's the way the restaurant is arranged. So we went there, we sat with them, and we asked the girl, "Oh, is this your brother? Is this your dad?" And she said, "No, he's my boyfriend." And we just made the man feel very awkward, and we left. And like, I don't know how he found us, but he came to us with like two of his friends. Like 2 days later or so, they came with like two of his friends, and he just told us that he's going to catch us in this city. And I can remember like the entire year, I and my friend were so scared. So it's like his friend knew doing this, and they are in support of him. And also, even with like men touching women in public, like with my experience over here, they are supported by other men, because I've had men, like when I tell a man to stop touching me in public, I've had other men tell me, "Oh, like what's so special about you that they cannot touch?" So I don't believe in the not all men propaganda. I think it's all of them. Like if we are not actively standing up against women being assaulted, I do think you're part of them. But I think it's past 6 Like it's past the 1 hour already. So we do have to come to the end of the live stream. And Moni doesn't have light anymore.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, if you like the conversation, please subscribe to keep it going, because we love doing these conversations. So those of you listeners, press subscribe. Great to be here. Thanks for hosting. And I think Muniba's up next, right? Have you got a topic in mind, Moni?
Not yet, but I'll think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Lovely to be with you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for the discussion.